Yeah, and I sent him,
Good morning, everyone, and it is April 1st, April Fool's Day, but we don't plan on any April Fools, do we, Mike Burgess?
No, but I got an email this morning that was not a joke that I thought was. So anyway, and I'm not going to tell you what it said, but you would have thought it was a joke too. Anyway.
Well, welcome everyone to our April 1st, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting. Let the record reflect that we have 4 commissioners present: Commissioner Kearns, Waldron, Jordan, and myself, CUNY. We have a busy morning, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And you're starting off with Mike Burgess.
Okay, commissioners, I got a lot here to go through. So I'm just going to start going. If we want more specificity, especially on some budget things, let's maybe regroup, or if I won't know something, I'll get an email back to you. And it sounds like you're not meeting next week either, so we'll communicate maybe more via email, or call me if you have questions. Just kind of where we're at. We got 4 weeks to go, or minus a few days, and it's busy now, given that the budgets have been released in both chambers. The Senate, and I'm talking operating, the Senate has passed theirs Saturday. The House did theirs last night. And then the Senate did a hearing yesterday on the revenue and tax packages you may have been reading about or hearing about. When I say package, I guess their version, their bills. They have 4 or 5 bills. And the House, I believe, hears theirs on Thursday. I would be surprised if they move those tax bills out of committee. I think they'll give them the hearings, and then they'll begin to negotiate on their budget, find out what taxes they're going to agree on, and then move them. I mean, just politically, it usually doesn't make sense to vote on taxes until you have to have a recorded vote, when ultimately a bill like that maybe isn't part of the final budget solution. Tomorrow is the policy committee cutoff. So some of the policy bills we'll talk about later have to have passed committee. And then next week on Tuesday is the fiscal committee cutoff. So, same drill: bills that cost money, policy bills that cost money have to go to their fiscal committees. And then from there, move to rules and then to the floor. So kind of what that signals is we're going to pretty much be done in committee a week from today. There will be the odd budget committee where, they'll come to an agreement and say, hey, we have to pass these 5 or 6 bills that are necessary to implement the budget. And in fact, it'll be closer to 20, I would imagine, including the tax bills. But kind of going to sprint here to the end, and budget's the main focus. On the operating side, there were a handful of provisos. They're impactful to Spokane. I messaged some of those to you over the weekend or late last week. But primarily, I would just call out the one that the diversion one that diverts the folks from Eastern State Hospital. That's a longstanding proviso, and it did make it in both budgets. That's good news. And then there's a couple other items, but broadly, the state support for criminal justice and a lot of those funds remained pretty whole. There was the worry that those things would be cut given what's going on in the budget situation. On the transportation budget side, it's kind of unique. You have new proposals in terms of new revenue packages for both the House and Senate. And the Senate passed their version on Saturday along with the operating budget. But specific to the north-south corridor, the House, as I understand it, carries forward the funding without the new revenue package, whereas the Senate is reliant on new revenue to finish the project. I have some more detailed paperwork I can share with you in terms of what that looks like. But I'm still trying to sort that out too, because it can be a bit confusing to read through the transportation budget. But I believe that to be true. So long and short, the Senate budget to finish north-south, and I say finish, I don't know what that all means, because I know that there's staging and things out into the future, but that the Senate budget is reliant on a new gas tax along with a lot of the other revenue enhancements they do, like license fees and weight fees and all kinds of stuff like that, whereas the House budget is not. I'm happy to be proven wrong about that, but that's my understanding right now. If you have any questions there, I know that's a big topic, but then Please.
On that end, I'll just let you know, so I know that AGC, they were just over yesterday, or maybe Monday, talking to people. So you might either talk to Max or talk to Cheryl Stewart, because they were both over there.
Okay, I can do that. But yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I will be surprised if the legislature passes a new transportation revenue package, and only because those things normally take 3 years to do. They propose them, and then it takes 2 or 3 years for it to come to fruition. But I think there's quite a will to do it. When the bill was voted off the floor over the weekend, it was a bipartisan vote. Not a lot of Republicans voted for it, but a handful did, and so I think that signals it's real. I think more to come on that. But wanted to give you that update for what I knew on that project. There's also probably a handful of other smaller projects in the county, but I wanted to focus on the big one for the purposes of this call. 2 bills to have a conversation about. 1946 is a Representative Hill bill that is moving through that would alter the membership of your health board. I think I sent you a bill report. I know that Ron's probably trying to pull that up. The summary of that bill on the front page will tell you what the additions are, but you're going to, at the end of the day, the requirement would be to add a member from recognized tribes in your region. And then I think in your case, there's another association that would fit the title. If you just scroll down a little bit there. So that last bullet point, required tribe representative, requires local representative of each tribe or each urban Indian organization, which I believe you have in Spokane. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that bill is moving. Had moved through the House and is making its way through the Senate now. I'm not sure about this, but it might be one of the only bills that Representative Hill has moving. Traditionally, each member gets a bill their freshman year, and this could be that bill, but I'm speculating on that. But just wanted to give you the heads up that it is moving through the process, and I would anticipate it to get out of the Senate here in the next couple of weeks. Do you have any questions on that bill? Comments?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to add, I mean, it's several members to the health district board. So,
right. Yeah. Sounds like you'll have some administrative things you'll have to do on your end to comply with it.
And the urban Indian organizations, there's like 2 or 3, 2 for sure that I know of.
Right. When Range reported on it, they were saying this would add 5 people to our health board.
So it's changed from an urban Indian health organization to just an urban Indian organization.
Well, Commissioner, that's
a little.
I didn't give you the bill language. This is the summary, right? So you'd want to go back and double check the actual bill language itself. And just for the purposes of this, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I had looked at it a couple weeks ago. What I recollect, it was a nonprofit organization that serves tribal individuals, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
It's something to that effect.
So Michelle Fossum she'll look at it.
Right, okay, because
Allow for
before the language was, it would be a health related nonprofit, right? I thought that was.
I don't know.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
I just brought this up given that there was the health board bill 3 years ago. This is making some additional changes.
Thank you.
The next one deals with solid waste handling facilities. This will be a new topic to you all. I hope
Mike
Deb's
just
there. I
gonna-
hope.
Yeah, Deb's in the room, so.
Perfect. So Deb should talk about this, but I would just give you the history of this is there's a provision or 2 in this bill that are problematic for Wasac and the county public health organization, in that my belief is it takes away some of your local control. I guess I'll just leave it at that and let Deb speak to it. Please.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Deb.
Thank you. Good morning. Yes, this bill The original intent on this bill was good intention. It came about as far as we're understanding about one site in the state that was having some issues with private landfill. And it started off as ecology being able to step over our local health jurisdictions to come in and do enforcement if a landfill was out of compliance. But what has happened is the language has been changed and now it applies to any solid waste facility, which would include our transfer stations, waste to energy facility. And they have changed the language as currently when we work with enforcement, it's our local health jurisdiction. And there's a collaborative effort between them and ecology when we're working through this. But the bill will take, as written, it gives ecology the authority to just act if they feel our local health jurisdiction is inadequate in their response. And so basically the language allows almost like a dual enforcement for us. And there's concerns regarding this dual enforcement, especially when we're planning, doing local planning on our facilities and our operations. We may, take time and effort to create a, say some update to our system, and then it's okayed by the local health jurisdiction. And then down the road, ecology could step in with this language as written and kind of supersede that and create us to have to do additional things that cost more money. So that's just sort of an example. So
And that's-
sum it up, Mike.
Sure, yeah, no, I appreciate that. So, the bill's moving, commissioners, and I wonder, given the comments about the taking away of local control, is that something as a board you'd like me to weigh in on, speak to our members of the delegation and say, hey, this bill, and I don't believe, Deb, it's not the whole bill, it's this portion of the bill that's the problem. And I'd be joining, the Association of Counties folks, we're the solid waste folks there, and then the health department or the health WASALFO in that same vein.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd want to, because I mean, as a commissioner, we're sitting here, trying to help with solid waste, and if planning is then worked through the health district, and then now the health district is told what they've done isn't good either, and ecology, depending on, as we know, who it is, it just takes one person, it's one person's opinion to change everything and undo all the work that's been done. I mean, I just think from two perspectives, we wouldn't like that as commissioners, but that's my opinion.
Sure.
And there's been several amendments proposed, language proposed by WASAC and WASALFO, rectify this, give us more criteria when ecology does step in, but none of the amendments have been written in or adopted in the language.
So I'd have to look at the wording in the bill, but I'm assuming the way it currently stands is that the decision-making power over facilities is, with the health district for certain elements of solid waste. So it just seems odd to me that why would you delegate that to the health district and then try and, I don't like it. It seems like it needs to be very clear who, if they are in charge of issuing permit or agreeing to a plan, then that should be the duty of the local health district. And if there is some sort of extenuating circumstance where the state feels like it needs to come in, I agree, it should be very, very narrow and clear, right? So I would support pushing back or wanting that language in there to be, it seems like, again, like one issue, one particular site, I'm guessing. And yet we're gonna have this be a statewide change.
You see it.
Yes.
I'm looking at the bill report here and like those signing in other, so not in, I mean, there's only one person con, but the others include Wasac, Wasolfo,
Right.
with
Public health
and
officials.
Department of Ecology. So it's like with all those people,
Ecology's
other
other as
on
well.
this, it's like that's nuts. Like the people that would actually have to do this and implement, including, the
Well,
state
maybe
agency.
Ecology really wants
They
more
signed other, so,
duties and
yeah, that's
responsibilities.
nuts.
Okay, I think you have what you need.
All right. So I will support
You,
the Wasac and Wasolfo's efforts.
perfect.
Okay. So in addition to transportation and operating budgets showing up, the capital budget showed up yesterday. And so on my list there, this is not the entire Spokane list. I tried to highlight some of the bigger ones and some of the ones we've talked about. And but I will work with Jeff to get you a more extensive list. There's a really good website through the legislature where you can do comparison documents, and I'll work with Jeff to do that, to share it with you if you want to mill through those. But there's so many items, I thought this was a better way to go, just not take too much time. But good news is the Crisis Stabilization Center is in both budgets. I put a star there on the Senate side because it was $3,050,000. There's an extra $50,000 in there, so we'll give the Senate a gold star for their proposal. But that's a good sign. Generally, when these projects are in both a House and a Senate proposal, they generally hold. Historic courthouse funding there at 500,000.
Mike.
Yes.
On the stabilization center, we're just asking, is that out of capital or are they looking at the opioid money?
It's capital budget, but it comes out of it's more a pot of money that deals with behavioral health facilities or mental health facilities. I think, but I can get you that answer. But it's not the conventional community project list, which is, what I call the member requests. It does come out of a different pot of money, but it is in the capital budget. It is capital funds.
Okay, which is why it's 3 million, because normally they don't do that much out of the normal capital.
Yeah, but that pot of money, Commissioner, I don't know how much normally is for projects in that pot of money. You're right. If this were a conventional community project, 3 million is a lot for a community project.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So the historic courthouse funding, I know that's something the county's gotten for years. This next one, short-term lodging center I just put for cancer, but it's for cancer patients. That's not a project I'm familiar with, but I added it there. Looked to be at one of the House members' requests. And then Spokane PD, a training facility, but I don't, Commissioners, is that something that the county would use too, or is that just city? To your knowledge?
That is just city and we've got Under Sheriff Ritchie here.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that project at all. That must be the city's academy project.
Oh, the training center.
Training
Okay.
center.
Upgrades.
Okay, so there would be no crossover for the county on that?
No,
No, because we have our own
Gotcha.
training that we fully paid
Okay.
for.
Okay, it just it jumped out at me, so I put it on there, but you'll see it when I get you the more full list. The LG hub fields, and that's a Spokane Valley project that Jeff informed me on this morning, and I added that one there because the Plants Ferry project is not included in either budget right now. I'm working with members of your delegation and specifically Senator Riccelli on that to see if we can't get that added back. But I just put it there because it's a sports recreational type facility too. That might answer why, maybe it wasn't included. Plants Ferry wasn't included beginning. That's my speculation. The Creole Community Hub included that because it's a pretty big ticket item. And then the West Plains PFAS, that's good news there. $7.5 million in the House budget. So that's something we would want the Senate budget to hold as well when they're doing their negotiations. If you have some other one-off projects that are not on this list, I probably won't know them off the top of my head, but I will look through the list and email you back about them, or like I said, provide with Jeff the fuller list that he could share with you.
Okay, the full one is great. Just a couple questions quick on the Creole community. None of us know.
What is that?
Commissioners, you
If you can find out about it and who sponsored it.
Civic district, but it is from the 3rd, 4th, or 6th.
Yes. I'm assuming
Sorry, because I just went through those.
From the Senate
But
side, so there's like three people. Okay.
I'll get you more specificity, or at least whose budget which district it was in. So that would maybe lead you to know what it would be.
Yeah, and the same thing with the short-term lodging for cancer. I think that's the Cancer Can't group.
I've heard of that.
So, yeah, so if you can tell me who was the sponsor again for that one, that'd be great.
Well, I can tell you what district it's in, Commissioner, but it won't
Okay,
say the sponsor. But I mean, you can obviously do the math theoretically, but sometimes legislators request stuff that's not in their district, especially in a county like Spokane, where, you know, there's something that could be important to a senator in the 6th, but it's not in their district, but it's an urban court, you know, it's like it's like downtown or something, a criminal justice facility on the county campus, right? So anyway, I will get you more, the detail I can provide.
great.
Okay. And then, yes.
So
One
go
more?
ahead. Nope.
Okay. And then moving down through our list of bills, just going to update you quickly on these. 1135. I have it still as opposed, but probably theoretically should go back to more neutral on that. You'll remember that bill language changed to the point where it's not problematic anymore. And similar to House Bill 1218, that bill has moved in a good direction. There was some initial worry about the cost for you all on the county, but those concerns have been alleviated as the bill has been amended. I do believe the prosecutors still have some things that they're working on in that bill. But for the most part, from a county perspective, WASAC had gone neutral, and I was working with them on that. Let's come back to the 911 funding bill and do that last. But 1813 is a good bill. It's moving its way through the process. The law enforcement aviation bill, unfortunately, has not moved. That's a policy bill that has to move by today or tomorrow, or tomorrow's policy committee cutoff. But at this point, it has not been scheduled, so I don't know that that will happen. Either way, though, that bill was contingent on funding appropriated with it. So even if bill were to pass, it would have been contingent on funding, and there was nothing assumed in either budget. I will go back and look again, but I believe that to be the case. The environmental crimes bill is still moving. It's been amended several times. It was exec from the House Environment Committee yesterday. Still problematic for us. Have been talking to other stakeholders in the area that are concerned about water quality in the river and some of the impacts this bill could have on that, and other NPDS. I think I'm saying that right. Permit holders. So still not a good bill for us and your county staff, and some of the concerns that we had talked about a few weeks ago. And then the GMA timelines bill, it's moving as well in a good spot. It's on in-house rules, so it needs to make it off the House floor by the 16th of April. So it's got some time. But back up to the 911 bill, there will be an amendment offered in the Ways and Means Committee. It's not today, it'll be tomorrow on this bill. And I shared that, Ron, and Scott, I'm sorry, I'm kind of jamming you on this because I didn't send it to you this morning, but I don't know, did you have a chance to take a peek at it?
I did. It looks like if I'm tracking this right, the amendment that's being offered by the senator had also requested some proposed language from Shrek last week to help the bill be better from Shrek's perspective. It doesn't look like any of that language is being offered up in the amendment. So I only see that it clarified a couple of RCWs in here, and it clarified that the state portion is not part of it, which I think was always assumed it wasn't part of it. That's the only changes I see in it, but everything else looks like it's still in the same situation. So the proposed amendments that were offered up by Shrek were to make this apportionment occur should a jurisdiction within a county operate their own primary PSAP, which would completely make sense. We've talked about that. If another city decided to operate their own PSAP, it would make sense that the revenues to support that primary PSAP went with it. And the other piece was to if that wasn't adopted, that wasn't included in the amendment, then call out there are costs associated with the work that's being done by the primary PSAP, so allow there to be a offset to it. And so neither of those are showing up in this proposed amendment.
Is that, I mean, commissioners, from your position, does that change anything, your feelings on the bill?
It isn't on mine. I mean,
Okay. That's what I have for you today. A lot there to digest, and like I said, I'll get you better detail on the capital budget. Yes.
if I'm not mistaken, I think you skipped over 1813 because you went straight, you skipped the.
Oh, no,
9.
I did. Sorry, I went quick over it. It's moving and it's in good shape, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then you, just so you can get head nods, you want us on the first two to be neutral versus opposed since language. is
Yeah,
changed.
I'll make that change because where it said opposed, that was the original language. And I guess procedurally, commissioners, do you need to
Yeah. Are you
provide that
okay to have it be neutral in those two? Okay. Yes.
Okay.
We're all agreeing to be.
All right. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Like I said, there's a lot going on, so feel free to reach out directly at any minute.
Just a second.
Just to check, the 1813 is the crisis
Funding.
funding that would be the recommendations to have some go to the DHASL.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Jordan.
Mike,
Yes.
are you following wasn't there a bill that related to regional air support helicopters funding?
That was the aviation.
Oh,
That's the aviation one.
Oh, okay.
1969.
But it's not getting out of committee at this point.
Did
Right.
it pass the other house?
It passed the House, but it's dying in the Senate committee. And like I'd mentioned, even if it were to go, it would still be reliant on operating funds to seed the grant program. And the reality is, I mean, just given the budget situation, it's difficult. And I think that part might be part of what's going on with it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. I know you're busy.
Oh, no, you guys, we all are, but so if I was going too fast, sorry, there's just a lot to digest right now. So
And anything that we can do to help, just I think
I'll do it.
available.
Jeff, could you step out and call me though? I got one thing for you.
I'll give you a call.
So
Please. Thank you. Thank you all, commissioners.
commissioners, just be ready if he calls at any moment to take his call so we can help.
Yeah, I might bug you on a weekend or late at night. So, but you only have to be worried about it till April 27th. How about that?
There we go. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all. Yeah, have a good day. Bye.
Okay, there we go. Always a fun update. This time of year. Okay, next. Agenda here. Next, we have Kevin Ritchie, Under Sheriff Kevin Ritchie.
Morning. A few things. The first one on the agenda here is the medical aid SRD contract 24-25. If you remember, we executed all of our SRD contracts last summer, but for some reason, this one slipped through the cracks and never got executed. They've had an SRD and they've been paying their bill. We just don't have any contract in place, so this is going to be a retroactive contract. They may owe us a little bit of money because the terms did go up from their last contract, but they're fully aware of it as well. So I think we had our grants and contracts position was in changeover at the time, and the new one at least as best you could, but for some reason this one got missed. So they reached out to us and they go, "Hey, we never did get a contract." So anyway, this is being executed. It'll be handled next year. It'll be the same as all the other SRD contracts. If you have any questions about that. The next is the body worn camera and implementation program. So this is the grant that we received from DOJ and COPS. These are the subcontracts for that grant to actually implement the program. The first one is for the tactical social interaction class, and these are the two instructors. The instructors are going to come here and teach our deputies. It's a de-escalation technique program to teach officers how to de-escalate and communicate better in crisis situations. And so the first part of this grant is implementing the training, and then the next part is going to be to evaluate the effectiveness of the training. And that's the other two subcontracts. The one's for Polis Solution. I'm sorry, the other three. Polis Solutions to do the implement the AI technology into the body worn cameras to evaluate. That's for $399,172. And then there's the National Policing Institute for $277,148, and they're the ones who are going to review and analyze the data from this. And then the consulting, CRA Consulting for $269,200 is going to actually evaluate the training, evaluate the data. So these are all covered under the grant. These are just the subcontractors who will be actually performing the work. All right, and then the last one, I believe, is the STOP grant. This is our annual STOP grant that we do with the city of Spokane. This is it's a Washington Commerce grant that we've been using for about 10 years. I think the total grant is $12,667, and we subcontract with SPD, and we give them $4,750 for travel and training. We use this in major crimes and well, actually all of crimes against persons for training for domestic violence and I believe some violence against children, the training that they go to. That's it. And this one does have a match. It's a small match of $3,167. And then the city gets $4,750, and we get $4,750 in addition.
Okay, but the match is split between the two as
I believe so, yes. That's it.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, yes. I'll send you information on that today, actually.
Okay. Okay, is Matt here, or you're gonna speak?
He's right outside.
You're gonna stay on. Good morning.
So I have a really quick one for you. Not anticipating much debate with this one. It's a road name change. And yeah, I know. I just said that out loud, didn't I? I was thinking this afternoon's public hearing, it might feel a little more contentious, so. This is an old section of highway out at Tyler. You can see on the map there, kind of the southwest part of the county. And it's currently, there's some confusion on the road naming, and portions of it are still PSH 11, and then portions are 3rd, which is a Tyler 3rd Avenue. And they just want to make the whole thing 3rd Avenue. And what brought it up is there's a gentleman at the far east end of that red line that's looking to get a. So that brought it up. But anyway, emergency services got involved, and the signs on the highway don't match. So we're just trying to clean that up to make it better for emergency services and folks living there. And everybody's in favor of the type of thing they opposed to it. So hopefully, unless I just jinxed myself.
Fool me once.
Yeah, right. It'll be great. I'm gonna be on vacation, but it'll go smooth.
PSH 11 isn't like someone's initials, like of like a war hero or something. Yeah, for now going to change.
Actually, look that up. It's primary state highway. They had PSH and SSH, secondary state highway, and this was like 1905 to 1937, and they used that through the mid-60s. So a little piece of trivia for you. But at any rate, that's all I have. Any questions regarding that? Okay, wonderful day. I'll see you at the public hearing.
Thank you.
Not familiar with this. Yeah, I think it's just for normal construction.
I can cover it as well. The CA agreement's the next one up here. So this is our certification of acceptance agreement, WSDOT. This is something they have to have on file with regards to our designation. Also, brains of local agency. Oh, here we go.
Hi.
Start right here. Brenda Clotier, Capital Projects Administrator, and she's the one who gets to keep us in line with Federal Highway Administration.
Sorry, you guys were fast. Yeah, good morning. I don't know where Kyle left off, but today I was going to talk to you about the CA agreement, certification acceptance agreement with WSDOT. WashDOT is required by FHA to have this form in place with us anytime any agency is doing federal highways works that's in their oversight. So in the past, we went through the process of demonstrating our qualifications, our resources, and that we have the experience to deliver these projects from design through construction. And as long as we're not found out of compliance, we maintain this certification acceptance. And then one of the requirements for the CA status is to have this agreement in place, stating that our understanding the process as well as defining any of the signatory assignments at each level of the project. So it's a CAN form. You guys can change the slide for me. So as you can see, it's a CAN form. WashDOT provides this form. The little blue text is all that we get to fill in. And so those are just names and title, or basically they're just titles that are associated with names. And then anytime we have a change in staff, we submit our org chart to our local regional WashDOT. And so they can verify those names. And then other than the title changes that you see, this is just prompted by our public works reorganization since we had some title changes. We changed those as well as we added our traffic and transportation project managers to allow them to sign for things that are in their direct purview. And so this is still the same as the agreement that we signed and had approved in 2021. The board still accepts the funding for the project. And they still pass the authority to update obligation agreements with through MAT. And then the leads can sign for a project that's work that's in their direct responsibility. And then it comes back to the board to sign the contract when we go to construction. And then that's all I have today. If you have any questions, and sorry again that I was late.
I apologize. We were a little ahead, so you're all good. Any questions? Like it's pretty standard. So. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, that's gonna take us to Ben.
Morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Today to talk about another update on where we are with renewal of the aquifer protection area. And this is, I get into details of the municipalities that need to provide permission to be included in the aquifer protection area, and the city of Spokane Valley has expressed interest in. And part of that is they've asked for the interlocal agreement to be updated before they go forward in April. So that's this specific item in front of you today that we're talking about today, which would come to the board for recommended approval next week. 2 weeks or 2 weeks, thank you. Again, just as a refresher, we're looking at an August ballot. August 5th requires documents submitted to the elections office by May 2nd. Resolutions from the different municipalities plus the county. Part of that, we're also setting up for the public hearing that would have to occur by the county in April to let residents know that we're considering going forward and that it would be potentially put on the August ballot. So kind of mixing a couple of steps that are all happening here in the last moment. So appreciate your attention to this. We think it's real valuable. The update with City of Spokane Valley is the interlocal agreement. You can go to the next slide. Was originally signed in 2004. The city started getting revenue in 2011 from that. Essentially, they're asking for, and we're agreeable to the same terms as we've had for about 15 years. And it would be our program, our water resources program, monitoring and education would be funded. And then the remainder would be distributed amongst the municipalities and the county at the proportional rate that the jurisdiction provides into the APA. So it's really no changes. There's some new terms. The agreement gets a little bit longer, but it has the same distribution of funds. The next slide is an example of how we go forward. And this is a lot of detail here, but this just shows how in recent years we've distributed money to Liberty Lake, City of Spokane Valley, and then the county retains money at the end on the far right two columns. Really no changes to the program. We're excited that the city of Pocatello Valley is interested in participating and they want to move this forward before they would approve it by their council.
This is a kind of high level summary of this. With regards to the municipalities, there's two components to it. The resolution from the municipality that says we would like to be included, and then an interlocal agreement with the county that describes how the funds are distributed. So we've had these in place for the last 20 years and just the interlocal agreement doesn't have to be done before the resolution. Frankly, it can be done at any time. But the valley would like to just make sure we're all on the same page with the distribution before they move forward with the resolution.
Is there any change to what it was in the past?
No, not the details. The agreement is a little different because the standard language has changed, but the distribution process, the county water resources program would still be fully funded. And then the remainder amongst municipalities.
And then is this the same, same interlocal agreement that we're looking at with the city of Spokane?
In discussions, we haven't traded drafts back and forth. But they have nodded that they would want to have it be done the exact same way.
I mean, I guess I just want to make sure that we're consistent across.
That would be our intention. We would propose the exact same language to all of the municipalities and understand that at the end of the day, it is the county that collects. And so, we kind of get to set some terms in that regards. Without the interlocal agreement, they can't get a distribution. We would propose everybody gets the same, and if we get all 4 cities included, it actually just brings everybody's percentage fee of the kind of administrative side of it down, and everybody gets more distributed on the back end.
On the previous slide, the part about if the city joins, that's just saying that then the county piece would be shared by different parts, and then so the valley then would receive some additional that they otherwise would be, but helping fund the county program. Okay, very good, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. With these fees, I mean, that's the monitoring that we're doing on that, as well as the learning education programs that are going on and stuff. So,
and then just the administration of the program itself.
okay. This isn't providing stormwater or anything. It's just the aquifer protection stuff.
Correct.
So each city would have to be responsible for meeting their stormwater permits through.
That's that's all separate than the APA.
Okay.
They can use those
But
funds to meet.
but that's an allowable use.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Tail end of last week, I saw Auditor Dalton was just discussing this with her kind of in general, and then she asked us if we had discussed how we're going to pay for the election. She says, because putting this ballot measure on will be about $350,000. She asked if we had broached the subject of where those funds are going to come from, and I told her I didn't know. So,
We hadn't gotten because not everybody's filed for what's going to be on that ballot. We didn't know what that number was, but
she was ballparking it. She was guessing around $350,000.
going back around several years, our original plan.
Just so we know, the treasurer is going to be on the ballot, so we're going to have to be paying anyway.
No, but she seemed to indicate this would cost $350.
Yeah, so the total of any countywide ballot
Okay.
is about that much. So the treasurer is going to be on the ballot in
Okay.
August and November this year. So we're up for,
Okay.
we're on the hook for a lot of costs.
The original plan was this was to use our wastewater funds on this, because this does help support wastewater.
So I think depending on what's all on the ballot, then that gets distributed.
Okay.
But since this is an off year cycle and the treasurer now is on this cycle as well, we're gonna be eating some elections costs.
Sure.
So this just is, so in some ways it makes it easier for us to pay for this because we have to pay for it already. Because that way you didn't have to explain. It's like, yeah. Okay. I've talked Collectibles.
Don't you think?
Oh,
okay. Vicky would have probably known that. That would be odd, but she just said, she said it was something we needed to discuss was what fund it was gonna get. So I don't know. They want to circle back with her on it, just to make sure.
Yeah, there's the
She
potential.
seemed pretty certain that there was a cost associated with this, but
Well,
we can talk about it
yeah,
offline.
we'll-
It's okay.
We'll talk about, I think she may not have been thinking that the treasurer is gonna be on.
Okay.
So. It's not our
But
normal.
it's an odd year, yeah.
It's not the entire 350 that will come in the county. Right? That's
Well,
the
there'd be
cost
city
of the
races.
elections. Yeah, there's
City races too.
Yeah, so it just depends on how it
Yeah.
gets allocated amongst all of them.
I think what Commissioner Kearns was mentioning, was stating is it sounded like it was the entire 350 would be on the county. But that's,
No, it's
sounds
different.
like maybe the cost of the entire election itself.
Get an update. The cost of it would be, so. Okay,
I think that's the last slide on this one, and we have one more item. The debt item on here, which is not a presentation. Not sure if Jeff was gonna join us in the room. Deb, do you wanna help me out with this one?
come on back.
Thanks for having me.
So, this is kind of a item that falls across multiple departments here, which is in response to, legislation. We have some additional organics reporting requirements, nothing like another unfunded administrative cost. So Deb, do you want to kind of describe what we're required to do?
Just to give you just a quick background, sorry, no presentation, but organics management law that came into play in 2022 and then updated in 2024. It includes a lot of different things. There's 3 components of it that impact our county. And one of the items is called a compost procurement ordinance that we are required to do. Yes. The good news is we're already doing everything that we need to comply with it, except report what we're doing. So that's what the good news is. And basically, the compost procurement ordinance requires us to have an ordinance that gives a direction for projects within the county that we procure local compost, which is pretty easy for us. We have our local company, Bartech, that's where our compost comes from. But part of this, it fell on purchasing to do the procurement ordinance, because solid waste was like, well, we can't write a procurement ordinance for the county. So what we're doing is we're coordinating with purchasing, and purchasing's coordinating with all of the other county departments, and basically, I think this first report was due March 31st of this year. And we got it in. It took us about 5 minutes to put it into the report system, so it wasn't, that part of it was easy. Melanie, I don't know if she's
in today.
not here. Dickinson with purchasing was able to get information from Parks and Public Works. Those are the 2 departments that bought compost from our local facility, Bartech. And so in the report, we're basically just saying, this is how much we diverted, and that's through our solid waste system. And this is how much we procured. And so it's a quantity, and then we just tell the source of where we procured it. And that's it.
Did you talk about the other strategy part yet?
About the education piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that, thank you. There's a lot to these legislative pieces. The part of that also requires us to educate the public on the importance of compost and diverting organics, which we already do. We have a robust program within our solid waste management. So that part of it's fulfilled.
If you look in your packet, I think it's page 387, 388. If you scroll all the way through your packet, there's a proposed ordinance that you would adopt by resolution as required by RCW. on this critical important matter. And so if there's not concerns, we would put that on your 2 p.m. next week. You guys, week after, that's right, next week is spring break. So if anybody does have any issues or want more time, we can wait accordingly. Legal put this together per the RC or the whatever passed the 1 p.m.
Be generic, right?
Yes.
It doesn't mandate that we have to do it. It says give preferential.
Encourages. Which we're already doing.
Let us know if you have concerns, otherwise you'll see it on the next 2 p.m. agenda.
I think what Jeff was referring to, there's two paths that legal has advised on, is one is adopt an ordinance which requires a public hearing, or adopt the ordinance by resolution, which doesn't require a public hearing, and the more expedient one and being recommended is adopted via resolution. Yeah, it's pretty.
We've not
Pretty
received any
simplistic.
phone calls on this, so I wouldn't expect to have much by way of public testimony. So resolution makes the most sense to my thoughts. Perhaps. So that's preferred.
I don't know if I've ever heard a issue that's more queued up for a 5:30 public hearing like this. We're gonna pack this place out.
Combo, baby.
I mean, this is what Chris and Amber have been talking
Oh,
about for the
yeah.
last 2 years.
Never know, the compost people might have dropped.
That's why they
There may be
haven't,
a lobby out there.
that's why they haven't called. They're waiting for the public hearing.
That's.
Madam Chair, no, I had an 8th grader that was shadowing me on Friday, because she's learning about, she's interested in government service, so they have to shadow someone and at a job. And I was telling her, yeah, we have a variety of things on our agenda for Tuesday, from compost to life jackets to road name changes. So we cover everything here, so at the county.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you. We can't wait to see it on our 2 o'clock agenda.
We really want to have a public hearing on this.
And report every yard that we purchase.
Okay.
That's
exciting. Hello, how are you?
Sounds like I missed some fun. So I was just coming over to talk about the interlocal agreement we have with the city of Spokane as far as the treasurer processing their utility payments. It's always been an agreement signed by the board and approved by the city council and this and that. This year, we were trying to put through the agreement, sent it over. Of course, we have new legal counsel this year and they're questioning, why doesn't the treasurer just sign this agreement, because he can totally execute that on his own. They've also asked for other changes to happen within the agreement. So Ms. Wright drew up a resolution asking for just that the board would approve for the treasurer to sign the agreements and the amendments from here on forward, so we could take care of some other stuff too. But I have to burden you guys every couple of years.
Yeah, I'd be curious with our legal to make sure that, if you can do a interlocal agreement from the treasurer's office, since it's the county doing it, I still think it's better to the commissioners.
I think it was the way it looks like she has it worded is just that the board would approve Mike signing the agreements. And maybe it still is kind of a.
We'll look at that.
I do think there's some code language that states that interlocal agreements must be signed by the board.
Yeah.
I believe specifically, but
Because otherwise we'd have, the sheriff could go do all kinds of crazy things. It's not that the sheriff would do that.
Oh, we're gonna tell
Whoa.
us.
Keep an eye on that.
Keep an eye on him.
I know. So yeah, so for some reason, that's just what I'm feeling is that it's, yeah, an interlocal agreement with any other entity.
If it was just a contract,
Yeah.
then maybe,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah.
And it, you know, she just sent it over to me to bring, so perhaps we
I'll
can.
move up with this, right?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and which is totally fine. It's just,
Yeah. Cause like on the banking side, we don't deal with any of that. That is the treasurer and all of that. This is an agreement with the city, you know, seeking the county to do services on their behalf. So I don't know. I guess I just like to make sure we've got our legal. Mr. Macio is not, he's been in the room
Been
the
around.
the whole time, and now when we need him, he's not here.
that's okay. Do you want me to forward you whatever, or?
I'll move up with this, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
And then we'll figure it out, because you're still processing the payments for them.
Yeah,
As the
we're just
council.
way behind
Mm.
and haven't been able to bill this year. So it was kind of the, how do we expedite this to get it done? Because they had it wrong in the beginning because they didn't have 5 members, they had 3 members, right? The last time we signed an agreement. So it's been this up and down thing since last November, trying to get this agreement correct
With our legal department.
between the city. And then it changed, right? So we had different people looking at the agreement prior, and then Stripe came on and then handed it off to another gentleman that sorry, I don't remember his name. So, I mean, and a part of it's been on me too, because with Workday, I've kind of, like,
I get it.
a month was gone.
Well, we'll
and I
try to get this in the next week, so we can get it handled here.
Okay, because they do want to add a couple of other things, but I imagine we can do an amendment maybe afterwards.
What do they want to add?
Some data sharing law that went into effect in 2023. And disposition of the records. What do we do? What's the life cycle of a check?
Make sure when you send it off to. Or you're gonna follow up.
Yeah, I'll follow up this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Sounds
should
good.
get all that, and then Scott.
This actually dates back to when I was at the city and worked with Krista and Treasurer Volts at the time to set this up. I'm just wondering, because it's presuming the city wants to continue using this, does it make sense rather than renewing it annually, just to have either an auto renewal or until mutually agreed to terminate, so it doesn't have to come back every single year?
And it's been every 3 years. It was just with the election last November, it was requested that we just do 1 year with the city, not knowing who the treasurer was going to be.
Gotcha.
And now that we know, go back to 3, but we have 1, so get through 1 and then we'll do another. But I think on the city side, it was pricing. They wanted to be able to adjust pricing, so that's why they want to look at it.
When I was at the city, it was beneficial to use the treasurer,
Well,
because it
it
was
certainly is.
less, it was more cost effective.
They keep trying to get it
Yeah.
lower.
So Scott, you may want to say hi. Scott, if you would take a look at it as well, just from
Yeah.
that perspective,
Yeah.
I think it'd be really good since you're on the other side.
I'm just thinking for administrative purposes, it may be cleaner and easier just to allow it to have a longer term, and then it's.
Then that's later.
Yeah, with an escalator, and then if one party gives the other notice, then it can terminate. That way it doesn't have to keep coming back.
So we've always been well under their threshold for. So.
Yep.
That would be great.
I see on the fiscal impact, you say that you're reimbursed for time, labor, equipment, software. Are you confident we're recovering all the expenses? We're not subsidizing them in any way?
No, I think we're covering everything, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back in the- Oh, he's here.
Good morning.
Welcome.
For your time this morning, we have a couple items. I have Jonathan Smith and Manny Powell with me. Jonathan's going to speak to our first item on a grant award that he's been working on, and then Manny will speak to a contract award that we're preparing. So I'll let Jonathan take it away.
Thanks, Doug. December, we applied for a small grant for the Spokane Parks Foundation to install life jacket stations, kiosks at Liberty, or not Liberty Lake Park, Bear Lake Park. And we were awarded that grant. And it will result in the construction of 2 kiosk signs and then purchasing life jackets to stock those signs. Those life jackets are available for kids and parents to take and use while they're at the lake, and it is well used similarly at Liberty Lake. So we are here to ask you to authorize acceptance of that award. And if you authorize us to move forward, we'll have a resolution for you at the April 15th legislative meeting.
There's been a number of grants that our grants team has identified recently. I'm not picking on Doug's team, but he's here to present one that falls in this category. I gave Doug a heads up on this one, but there are times where we apply for grants that don't allow for administrative costs or indirect costs to be recovered. The administrative costs generally fall to the department, so they're agreeing to take on this grant and absorb it within their department. But indirect costs oftentimes impact other departments within the county. In this case, you're going to be probably impacting procurement. You're going to be impacting our grants administration is always going to be impacted. Accounts payable to issue checks. So there's costs that we're incurring that we're not recovering. We're actually incurring additional resources on other departments out there. So and there's another one out there for district court that they're asking for a grant that has no indirects, no admin costs. And in that case, there's a significant amount of HR time to hire and recruit an intern and to use IT for purchasing and accounts payable and payroll. So I think it's just raising this for some conversation with the board. I think it's worthy of us relooking at our grants policy. Consider right now we have a $10,000 limit. We don't, the policy says we don't accept grants less than $10,000. So I think it's worthy of dusting it off, having a conversation with the board to say, if a department is pursuing grants that don't allow for recovery of those things, either A, we're not going to do it, or B, the department agrees to have an indirect charge go to that department to absorb the costs that other departments are incurring. So I think it's worthy of a conversation. Oftentimes departments look at a grant and they consider impacts within their departments, understandably. But there are impacts greater than that. And it can, like I said, it's always going to include grants, generally accounts payable, sometimes payroll, sometimes IT, sometimes purchasing. And so we just need to make sure we're considering the broader impacts on our county, that accepting these things, we're not offsetting costs that are being created for accepting the grant. So if that's something the board would like to queue up for one of our Monday conversations, we can bring the policy in here. We can give an overview of what the policy says today and how do we make some adjustments to the policy based on feedback and recommendations. Am I misstating anything, Doug or Jonathan? With this particular grant, it doesn't allow for indirects or admin costs. Is that correct? It wasn't.
It does not. I will say this particular one is about as simple as any grant we receive, as far as the reporting and the lack thereof that they require, they basically write a check. I think we provide a photo to show that we've done it. Where if we get into other state grants and that type of thing, it's very, very time intensive. And some of the state grants, we cannot charge back costs either. So that definitely plays a role with it. And this one, it's been so simple and it's something we would spend the money on. Otherwise, we've gone forward with it.
So what you're saying, Doug, is you'd have to look at the different types of grants to make sure that you wouldn't just be putting a big admin fee on every single one, because you're saying some are very minimal, but others have a lot more administrative support needed.
Yeah, some allow us to charge back costs and some do not. So we certainly look at that. We also look at how much of an investment of our time it is. And I think what Scott's saying is we really need to make sure we're looking at how it impacts other departments. It may not be a lot of time for us.
Right.
But it does create work for grants and for other departments. And so maybe we shouldn't go after this type of grant because of the dollar amount in the future. But we do try to look at that carefully before we pursue a grant, certainly from our staff.
And this is not unique. What Doug's done, all the departments, other departments do this as well in our period of budget challenges and being more thoughtful around how we're going to balance our budget this year. This is just one that gave rise to, I think it's worthy of a conversation as to what our grant policy should be. Oftentimes, smaller grants are more costly to administer than larger grants, at least as a percentage of the grant. So I think it's worthy of a conversation. I just raised it for awareness and I think a need for a further dialogue.
Can I ask, what's the process of getting this built? So we get the $5,200. I assume this is gonna cost more than $5,200 to build?
I think we're building two of them and the staff routinely construct these in-house.
Really? Oh,
with our own
okay.
staff. And so
That's
that's,
park staff?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, we have some highly skilled folks with our full timers, and it would be substantially more if we were to contract this out. We would probably, I don't know, 10, 15 grand a kiosk if we were to bid it out or that type of thing. But at the end of the day, the $5,200 will buy materials and supplies, if I'm not mistaken, that our team will construct these and install them out in the field. We'll buy life jackets. And so that's something that as a department we're able to do. And we try to selectively do certain things in-house where we know we can, would not otherwise be able to do it. And it's a way to stretch dollars and be more efficient and effective with what we have.
You're out there building them. I take pictures, put that stuff up on county social media. I mean, that's stuff people want to see. I mean, got our parks crew out there building these for the community.
yeah.
That's great. I didn't think that was gonna be your answer. I thought we were gonna bid this out. We hire a company to come in. We spend the
No.
$15,000 a piece to build.
no.
I mean,
Not at all.
so that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
publicize, get that stuff out there. Take pictures while you're doing it. That's something to be proud of, that we're doing that stuff in-house.
Yeah, our
That's
team
great.
fully renovated the restrooms up at Bear Lake as part of the current overall project. That was a way that we could get everything done with the budget we have. And they did a lot of that during the winter months and the off season. And so we watch carefully for those opportunities, and I think it's very rewarding to them as well.
It's great.
Look forward to seeing that. Yeah, no, I think it's great. And I think it's worthy of a bigger discussion, just grants in general, to turn back the policy and have that discussion and talk about, I could see it as, for some of these grants is that do we consider it what we pick up these funds if we think it's that important to do, but being aware that yes, there's costs associated with each one. We're choosing to, do that or not.
We'll get it queued up.
Okay. Doug, you're here for a little bit longer.
yeah, we have another project here that Maddie will speak to, which is another grant related project.
This one, we put the project out to bid for the phase one construction entry improvement at the Hoboken County ORV Park. This is the one out in Airway Heights. We did that project at the end of February and got bids back. So we're asking for permission to award the bid to Liberty Concrete for $425,000. Next slide, please. So in 2020, a master plan was created for the ORV park and outlined a variety of suggested improvements to improve revenue streams and to keep the park updated. So this first phase is some of the work that was described in the master plan. Next slide, please. Here's what the entry currently looks like. The yellow box is the whole ORV park, and then the highlighted area is just where we'll be working this phase. Next slide, please. So as you can see, there's an existing gate that we will be repurposing. This was built by the operators out there, and one of them owns a steel manufacturing company, and so they've custom built this to meet their needs. It's a very nice gate, so we'll just be moving that back to eliminate some issues people have been running into the gate. Getting rid of the gatehouse that is no longer used, and then putting some security lighting up. Next slide, please. The project will also add about a quarter mile of a new entry road, straightening it out. We're gonna remove the gatehouse, like I said, and then we'll also put in a new entry sign. This will also be created or built by park maintenance. Next slide, please. This just kind of shows where we're straightening that out. The existing road will stay, and that is part of the master plan had outlined to put potentially more camping to the south there along that existing road to increase revenue streams. We don't have any concrete plans for that yet, but this is the first phase of going towards that vision. Next slide, please. We received 5 bids total that ranged from $404,000 to $633,000. Our engineer's estimate came around $600,000, so they came in a little bit lower than we thought. Our budget for this was set about 3 or 4 years ago, and the project got delayed due to some administrative issues. So it's good news that our budget that was set aside then can still get us this project. Next slide, please. So
On that one, so the different bids with the alternatives, which one?
So the alternatives were items that were required, that are in our grant agreement. 2 of them we're able to get out of. We can meet the landscaping requirement with seating, and then we are gonna do the sign in-house with maintenance. The security lighting we have to put, so we're going to take base bid and alternate 2 to meet our grant requirements and get everything we need.
Okay, so base plus alternate 2.
Yes.
Okay.
So our total project budget was $536,000. Our grant was about $300,000, and then the REAP was $200,000. We've spent about $80,000 in soft cost permitting, that kind of stuff, design, and so we have about $450,000 left for construction. With taking base bid and alternate 2, we'll have about $27,000 in a contingency, which is about 6%, a little bit lower than we typically like to aim for, but this is a fairly straightforward project. We've done the geotech reports, and there shouldn't be too many surprises on this. So we're not anticipating that we run into any issues here. And so we're requesting that we're able to award base bid and alternate 2 to Liberty Concrete, who is the lowest bidder on this project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's ready for any weather.
Good morning, commissioners. We have before you today a fairly straightforward request regarding an essential public facility. We do have a couple of slides for you. The site of this is in the city of the Valley. The board's role, next slide, please. The board's role by state statute is to make determinations as to whether facilities of this kind have impacts that are local, regional, or statewide. Next, please. So here's the proposed use. It's a 16-unit behavioral health facility on Appleway near the eastern limits of the city of the Valley. Next, please. Here you can see the site itself again on Appleway, surrounded by both residential and some sort of commercial uses. And again, the determination here is whether or not it meets a local impact, regional impact, or a statewide impact. And by contrast, the reason the essential public facilities system exists is it tries to deal with siting decisions that are generally not well received by local residents. The regional and statewide impacts are things like airports, prisons, large scale facilities. Regional impacts could be county jail, things like that. Local impacts are those that are determined to really only have an impact within the generalized local area. This, in our mind, falls into that. Next, please. Next slide. This is the facility itself, as you can see up there. Next, please. And our estimate for your recommendation is that it is locally significant, and nothing more than that. The result of your action, and this will be before you on the 15th, if you agree with this, will be to essentially then refer this back to the City Council of Spokane Valley for then traditional planning and permitting. Your determination only is to reinforce that it is a locally significant facility.
It's been a while since we've done one of these. Does the Valley bring it forward to us, or does the company just come directly to us?
Well, the company referred it, but it comes from the Valley. It's a trade-off. It's an intergovernmental, handed to the board for a determination, then back to the Valley for permitting.
So what is the Valley wanting?
They have made no statement of approval or disapproval, to us at least.
It's really comes to the board to determine if there's a statewide significance, and if it's only local, then the board indicates so and hands it back to the Valley, correct? If it was statewide, it would stay with the county.
If it was regional or statewide, it goes through a much more elaborate process that is driven by the Board of County Commissioners, yes. So essentially, it's a handoff back to the local jurisdiction to put it into its traditional permitting system.
I guess my question is for me to make that determination. I would probably run it through Justin Johnson just to know that we have a critical, just as that there is a critical need, and so that's why it's important to do this and go through this process.
The details of that should have been in the staff report that accompanied this. It would have gone through Colin, our legal counsel, before it came to you.
Yeah, not legal, our community services director, who understands the ecosystem of the mental health and all of that. Just to know that, yes, we do need more facilities and more beds. So I guess for me, I just would want to run this by Justin before we give a final approval.
We would be happy to make that referral quickly and have him produce an opinion for you. I'll do that today.
Okay, I think he's on vacation this week.
Yeah. This is not urgent.
Okay.
The developer and others would like to move forward, but it is not urgent. If it needed to be delayed for further consideration by a week or two, that's not a problem.
Okay, because I do think Justin's on vacation this week, and then we're off next week, so it'd be for the following week. I would just want confirmation from him, just because if we're going to say it's an essential public facility, I need to know within our ecosystem of that this meets that. It would help fill the need that we have, and that we have. I think we all feel we have a need. I would just like confirmation of that.
We will absolutely do that. In fact, we'll go back and take a look at
maybe why that criteria isn't in the EPF guidelines for determinations. It seems like that would be a valid thing to have in there from the beginning.
Yeah, especially, I mean, since he's heads up our behavioral health administrative organization.
Those guidelines were created some time ago, and it may have bypassed different departments at the time, but that's a good reminder. I'll go back and look at those.
Yeah, because I know sometimes there's been different mental health facilities that, especially in the valley, we've done so.
Yeah, and there's a distinction in the sense that a lot of times we hear of opposition to group homes going into established neighborhoods. Those are not technically EPFs. Group homes generally units up to 8 beds, and this is a larger one, which is why it kicks into that category. In those smaller ones, by statute, those are allowed in any zone that allows residential development by right. And so and that was partially in the same reaction to facilities that are not generally wanted somewhere. There was a statewide mandate to say, if you allow residential of any kind in this zone, a group home is allowed by right. This is a slightly more bigger scale version, which kicks it into the EPF side.
Yeah, no, 16 bed gives that federal number and all of that. So that's why it just triggers me to think just
That's good.
be aware.
I'll make that referral as soon as I get back.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
I was just gonna, Scott, since you're here, if you could touch on, I saw the newspaper today, so I had some quotes there. I didn't realize what we were doing put us at odds with the feds. That was a new angle, I thought, for countywide planning policies, but
Didn't anticipate that assessment at the time.
I didn't either when I saw that. It's like, oh, that is an interesting spin on what we've been working on. So just what if you wanted to touch on.
Well, I guess to be clear, our workload on behalf of you and the steering committee is to put ourselves in compliance with GMA and the new requirements from the legislature. In other words, the state requirements for housing distribution by those income bands, as well as the climate impacts. In our workload, there is no federal mandate on that or federal guidelines whatsoever, at least at this point.
When I found it interesting, I'm a fan of this reporter. I think he does great work. I thought it was interesting how he tied in a thing about museums and Smithsonian's to try to link that to our countywide planning. And it's like, come on, that's a stretch here, guys, come on. So, I don't know. Okay.
And you know, the housing policy does have that sort of secondary component in addition to these income bands. It's directing us to deal with historic housing discrimination, you know, that dates back to the first and last century, you know, the old redlining approach of you can't build here. We are directed to take that into account in this new set of policies. So that may be the thread that linked it back to federal initiatives. But anyway, our response and our recommendation to you is entirely based on statewide statutes and RCWs.
Scott, this afternoon, I know we've got to strike the 4B on the countywide planning policies, topic 7, and restart that process. Does it make sense to move the other one independently, or should we move it together, both of them?
There is no impact either way. We bundled them together just because we thought it was simpler to bring the whole group before the board. Since we made the error on the documents, we're correcting that. If they go forward separately, that's fine. Again, there's not a sense of urgency on this. It's just getting through and making the determination. So if the board would prefer to keep those two bundled, we could move them both, but if you don't, it doesn't matter to us.
It might just be easier to keep them bundled.
It's fine.
I think it's just less confusing for the public to be thinking that there's two. I mean, there are two different things, but it's still coming from the steering committee at the same time.
Well,
So.
And to be sure, there's also the third one, which is the interlocal agreement itself, allowing for tribal participation on the steering committee. All of those amend the countywide planning policies, but they come from two different perspectives. One is topical housing and climate, and the other is the interlocal that allows participation. We can keep them all three bundled if you'd like. I know that tribes were interested in moving theirs forward, so if you would be able to do that, that would probably keep that one, it would get that one off the table and be able to handle the other two policies. But it's entirely up to you, and again, there's no real urgency.
That's where we're in the process of that one.
Same, it's in the same bundle.
Is that 5A? 5A. Membership and voting structure.
Yes.
For all the board members, the reason we need to strike for B is there was some errors in the resolution. Calling out some of the steps that we took, so we've got to start that process over again.
So we're agreeing strike for A and B for today, and bring them both back as package next week or the week after, whatever works.
Whenever your schedule allows, we'll bring back a new receive recommendations and set, so there'll be a 2-week stagger. We bring it back.
So the spokesman,
Nothing to do with
so
the
the
media
spokesman
coverage,
pushed
right?
hard, and we caved.
Only to fix technical errors. Fair
So was one of those errors that there wasn't any testimony received?
We made it, and yes, we made an error.
Cause I
on
got a
the
comment, a couple comments on that, cause I was in the meeting, there was a lot of testimony.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, and it fell into we didn't read the resolution carefully enough, and we used a template and didn't check it.
Okay.
It is entirely on us. So. Yeah, it's
The
always,
record is clear.
especially when it comes to public participation, yes, it's very much, we want to make that clear. So we regret the inconvenience.
Because we brought them both forward proving to
We briefed them
receive it.
before, yes.
So, yeah, I'd rather just keep them bundled because I mean, that's how it came to us, was bundled, and then just keep that process going the same way.
We will work with the clerk's office to make that happen.
Okay, so we'll just be striking item 4 and the sub items today. So. And then we're also striking item G as long as we're talking about strike.
Yes. 8G. 8G.
AG.
Not ready. That was at the request of the entity involved with the donation. It'll come back. It's just they need a little more time.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. That's gonna take us to miscellaneous items. Then we have a couple.
And say as we were starting, I will read the Giving Joy Day. Proclamation, we have 3 of them. I was gonna do Giving Joy Day. Commissioner Jordan was gonna do National Crime Victims' Rights, and then Commissioner Waldron is gonna do the National Public Health Week.
Hello.
Hi.
Good to see you. It is not April Fools. We have Martha Lou in the house. Martha Lou is in the house.
Yes, I'm back. Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate it. Good heavens, what happened to your face?
Yeah, Ron's not here to sit.
You talking.
That is an impressive beard.
We were all thinking it. No.
Very nice.
I decided not to shave this weekend, and so where I am.
There you go.
Wow. Very impressive. All right, well, media, press releases and proclamations. Pat and Charissa are at the arena right now, so I'm filling in. Last week, we had a lot of news releases go out, the Spokane SNP event at Scraps. Just so you know, this is donation funded, volunteer staffed. And they open up a site for people to get these free spay and neuter for 100 household owned dogs. This is the 3rd one. Every slot filled up in 3 minutes. As soon as they opened the site, it's like wowza. And so that is an indication of the kind of demand. Now, Scraps will continue to be the location for these events, but it's bringing together like 10 different organizations for animal welfare. So it's a great thing for the community. Prosecutor's office had an officer involved shooting, no criminal charges. Justin Johnson was interviewed by the Seattle Times late last week. It had to do with potential funding cuts that were coming. He could not offer any numbers because they had not received the specific information at that time. So he spoke in generalities about funding cuts to Medicaid are going to impact the entire system, even though we cannot quantify it at this time. So I'm sure that the Times reporter will be circling back for that, as well as local media. Transfer stations, as of today, I know Deb Geiger was here earlier. Hours are changing as of today. They will be consistent at the 2 transfer stations, no changes over the weekends. So it's going to really, I think, improve customer service and predictability of the hours.
So what are the hours?
It's like 7:30 to 4. So that's going to be helpful, I think, for the people who use the transfer stations. I'll send it out again today. I sent it out over a week ago, and I'll send it out again as a reminder. There's a draft.
Martha, just like
Yes, ma'am.
7:30 to 5.
It's 7:30 to 5.
7:30 to 5, my apologies.
Okay. And then what are the
Um,
weekends?
Same every day.
Same every day.
Mhm. Except for, of course, national holidays.
Right.
They'll be closed. The treasurer's office has requested a news release for next week. They're reviewing the draft. It has to do with in-person payments for property taxes. These will be later this month at Spokane Valley and also North Spokane County, the library branch, and then Spokane Valley City Hall. So two days at both sites if someone wants to pay in person. We also have a news release for the Inovia grant. If you want that to go out today, all of you and your aides should have received it.
I saw the draft this morning. Victoria, do you know, is Commissioner French gonna be on the 2:00? He's not planning on being on the 2:00, so you'll need to adjust some of the wording.
His quote.
Yes, because it makes it sound like the way the quote reads, it makes it sound like he's at the meeting.
Okay,
He will
I will
not
do that.
be at the meeting, but he's in support of it.
When did this come out?
I saw,
Who did it come from?
From Charissa
Or I think it was.
I think it was Pat.
9:30 AM, 9:30.
or from Pat?
Yesterday?
No, today at 9,
I'll send it to you again after this
or no,
meeting.
9:38.
Oh, while we were in here.
Yeah.
There it is. I see it. Sorry.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, please look it over. You also have a quote, Commissioner Kearns. A reminder today, as I already heard you discussing, you have 3 proclamations. I have sent out reminders to the recipients. National Crime Victims, Larry Haskell.
Is
And
Larry
the-
gonna be here or is it? Preston?
He has not confirmed with me. So it would be someone from the prosecuting attorney's office.
It's just helpful for me to know who to invite out.
As soon as I hear, ma'am, I will send it to
Shelley,
you.
if you've heard either,
Who's
who's attending, who's gonna be speaking, receiving the proclamations.
yes, I haven't heard from Larry. As soon as I do, I'll let you know.
Um,
Public Health Week will be Dr. Francisco Velasquez.
Okay.
And then EWU Giving Joy. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, but it's from their support office. So
You can.
my
see that I-
contact has sent them the email.
Okay, if someone could just, maybe if you can get there early to see who's coming in.
I will.
That would be great.
Okay.
Just it's helpful for me to have the name as to who to call down to receive
Right.
the proclamation. Okay, and then as long as we're on proclamations. Central Valley Girls State Basketball Champions for basketball, so would like to do a proclamation for them. As we've done it for other schools, my alma mater. So, yeah.
Should we have G prep boys?
voice line.
Did the G prep guys win?
They did.
I mean, we
Reach out
should,
to 'em. Yeah.
we should just do, yeah, kind of a sports.
It was fun. We had both, what was it last year? Both the volleyball and the wrestling at the same time.
Yes, we did.
That was an interesting mix.
Yeah, we did, I believe we've had cheer, we've had softball, we've had, yeah.
Other championships we haven't noticed, state champions, I think. Say West
Okay,
Valley had
so-
one too, but
Now Spokane had another one, and I talked to one of the coaches and I said, send me an email I talked to him at a different Mount Spokane sporting event, and he said, yeah, they won. And I said, send me an email, we'll do this, and he never got back to me, so.
So Central Valley Girls Basketball G Prep.
I can reach out to
Boys?
G prep boys.
Okay,
I just have, give Martha the contact to just keep it, that way she can work through it. And I'll check with Kyle Rydell, because for some reason I thought West Valley did win a championship state.
you know, I can check into that.
Okay,
And
Commissioner Kearns, do you want me to look into Mount Spokane?
if you'd like, I mean, I think it was, I mean, at this point, it might even been like a ball sport or something, but yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want, you can.
Well,
There
it's
was
up-
some,
it's
I
up
don't
to
remember
you,
what it
sir.
was.
It's-
No, I don't remember what you, well, I mean, we're glad to recognize them, I mean, for their accomplishment, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything we can do to recognize Mount Spokane.
I know.
Okay,
I had one I got several constituents emailing me with a request for National Therapy Animal Day. We done that one before?
I think we have.
you did that last year.
Okay.
I was gonna do that one.
Okay, great.
Yes, I
I'll
got
let them
several
know.
emails. I got several emails as well. They're very active.
Yes, yeah.
What you have coming up in the month of April, you have the National Correction Officers and Employees Week. That is May 4th through the 10th. It has been requested by Mike Sparber and
Who's here?
Detention Services Chief Don Hooper. Who's the sponsoring commissioner?
I mean, I would say all of us. I mean, it's like, I mean, sometimes I don't want to get us that it's one commissioner sponsored because all of us are really wanting to participate in it. It's just who's gonna read it is more,
And then National Therapy Animal Day, April 30th, so you would present that on April 29th.
is that our Tuesday? Yes, so
Yes.
Al will read that.
That's fine.
National Therapy Animal?
Yes, we have done that.
Yes, you
Yes.
have.
No, they were just saying that, yes, it's come into several commissioners.
And Commissioner French will sponsor and read. Okay, great. All right.
And then Mike, with the corrections officer week, usually there's an awards evening. I think it might be why we're in DC. So I don't know if Commissioner Jordan, since you're the only one not going to DC, if you want to.
I can take a look at that. Yeah.
Which one is that?
It's just an evening event.
Appreciation.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know usually we try to make it if we can, but, so send it out to all the commissioners and we'll see.
I was just sent a Teams message from Gina, apparently also the Northwest Christian Girls Basketball Team won states this year as well.
I knew that.
Watch. There's another one for you.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, Sports County USA, we pump out winners.
There we go.
I should be
Let's see. one,
most
two,
likely able to make
three,
that.
4, 5, 6. That will give us 6 scores if everybody checks out.
Need a big banner that says sports.
And if it's-
County.
Yeah.
And if they, you know, and if.
Do you
if
want
it's
them
too-
all together or do you want them like 3 at a time?
Probably 3 at a time.
Sure. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of young energy in the room.
And if they can't make it, I mean, because I know sometimes they can't, it's like, see if the coach can make it,
Okay.
so. It's because it's grade school, so. I don't want them to say no. You know,
Yeah.
Just because all.
And-
yeah.
I mean, even if it's something that they can't come down for, I mean, we can just put it as an item on our consent agenda, adopt it and give them a signed proclamation by the Board of Commissioners to the school. I mean,
Right.
too. So I mean, even that, it's something we can do.
Right.
If for some reason logistically, there's no way anybody can come down, you can just put it as a normal item and just, not even reading it, just adopting it and delivering it to them. So, I mean, even that I think would be a nice gesture.
I
What
agree.
about something Spokane County for its high school sports?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Think about it, flesh out the
I'm just
idea.
happy
and
we're
come
gonna
on back.
get the proclamation.
There's something there.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for me, commissioners, or for the communications office? It is so good to see all of you.
It is so
Great
good
to
to
see
see
you.
you. Nice to have you back. Okay, so then we have a couple other things. I have for miscellaneous, so I've got an email from Kyle Curtis from this morning. From Yakima County that he's wanting to just do some tours of some of our facilities. So Scott, I may have him coordinate that with you. Because we wanted to look at the real-time crime center, scraps. Kind of the downtown Spokane Ambassadors Program. So I will forward this to you and see if you can help guide him with what we can and who to contact. So I'll do that. And then the joint meeting between the city and the county is scheduled for April 18th, 10:30 to 12:30. Betsy and I met, we're working on the agenda still, but Mitch is trying to keep it around, probably have the sheriff talk about what's going on. with-
No. We just got back. Pat might want to bring up what we talked about just now or PFD.
Okay, well, let me go through the agenda first and then we'll do that. So we're thinking, trying to keep it on the opioids, so that way that, as we do a joint investment, look at a joint investment, we'll know what the need is. Maybe having, so John, I talked to John, he's got a lot of statistics because he's on the team that works with the DEA. I would like to have scraps on the agenda. So we'll try to, just so that way I know, but it's the way to make sure that everyone gets the same information at the same time. So, what I don't want to do, and Matt and I talked about, I don't want to do anything that's going to interfere with our mediation. But I don't think it will. I think all it is just, again, Cody would come and just provide the information and the facts to everybody.
Just scraps or Shrek.
Or Shrek.
Oh, scraps.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, thanks.
This said scraps here.
Or is this?
No, we're doing a joint city
it's-
council.
My apologies.
No, the other was I just have a commissioner that would like to tour some facility, come to Spokane and tour some facilities. So we're working through that right now and I'm having the attorneys kind of work through kind of logistics of how do we jointly notice this and do all of that. So that's what we're doing. And then, yes, you guys went just tour to figure out how we jointly and officially can stream.
Yeah.
Like City Cable
So-
5 will be streaming.
Mhm.
And so the hope is we can just pick off their feed and not have to do separate
Sure. Good morning, board members. So we were just over Charissa, Ron, myself, Jacoby, the clerk for the city council, and Mark Carlos for Council President Wilkerson. And we're taking a look at the facilities in the Champions Room and then the adjacent boardroom, which are two different rooms if you've been over there. One is a much larger, more flexible space, and the sound isn't great in there in terms of like echoes and things. It's actually not very well wired. I mean, it has strong Wi-Fi signal, but it feels a little bit more kind of like a big cavernous room. Then they have that boardroom, which is a little bit larger than this one, that's available. It's a little more set up for meetings, and the two main things we discussed, if we were to use the big room on that date, April 18th, they were recommending the staff there a horseshoe. That way you could have a screen that everybody's looking at around the horseshoe, and then have public seats, 20 here, 20 here, 20 for the city, 20 for the county. The room holds 160 together, but in that format, more than 40 public seats things could get tight, people walking around and stuff. The conference room, which the city and the county staff both liked, it is much more around a big table, just like this, but you have seats on both sides, about 18 public seats on both sides. The technology configuration there, it's a screen on that end, a screen on this end. It would be a little tighter for news cameras if we were to get some. City 5 could make either room work. The one hang up is that conference room is already booked for the 18th. So they would need to either move who's in the conference room, or they would ask us the city and the county to look at maybe the 25th to have access to both rooms. So it's a little bit of a math problem, just in terms of scheduling. They might also be able to move that conference room meeting and just, kind of push them for our meeting. So those are the main options. In terms of like the technology and stuff, it was like a lot of Greek being spoken, but between the city engineer, the city can carry the feed, and we should be able to plug into whatever they do. I think the meeting room would be easier to, it'd be easier to plug into. So the preference, I have photos of both spaces if you want to see them. One would be a little bit more like the COG meeting in that bigger room versus a joint meeting in a little bit smaller but more familiar format, with you guys being relatively close across the table versus spread out around a horseshoe. It's really what the board's preference is.
I visit Spokane, every once in a while, we'll take meetings at that conference room. I don't think that conference room's big enough. I mean, with the entourage that's probably gonna come with us and with the city
We
council.
did discuss saying, and
I think we're gonna pack it
well,
out.
Jacoby said we would hopefully have city and county staff zoom in or stay home, not to fill that room and keep it for the public. If only essential staff could show up for that meeting, everyone else could just be online, that would help out. And then the other thing is we could have an overflow room, and City 5 could set that up for us, that if more people came than that room could hold, we could just on the inside of the wall have an overflow room where people can listen or watch the meeting. So space isn't that big of an issue.
It's really, I think, what's most conducive to conversation, if that's the point, is to get the city and the county together on the same page.
At what point we were getting pretty. We're making this a lot bigger than it was, and Jacob and I were like, at the end of the day, this is a meeting for the commissioners, the council, and the mayor. We want to have 5-6 camera angles, and if we do the horseshoe, they're talking about bringing like 15 mics, a podium, and 5 hours of setup. So
I hate to throw another location into the mix, but I guess I thought the Champions Room was more wired technology.
No.
I didn't realize they weren't set up. What about the Health District Auditorium? I mean, because they just spent a decent amount of money upgrading all of the technology in that room, and that's a decent size.
That won't be cost as much.
Yeah, they did it for free.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to throw another location there on your.
It's a room that you can
on
really
your
set
plate.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually more conducive.
And they've got all those mics there that are really, I mean, they just upgraded all the technology like 3 months ago. So I mean, it's completely wired for anything I think we possibly need.
Share bikes.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna speak.
And they have not only the projection screen, but now they've got the two huge TVs on the side walls too, for if we need to put anything up there.
Be way better.
So
Be happy
health
to just
district,
help
health district
that
maybe,
Yeah, because outside the room is like a big open space that they can put chairs for
Yeah.
the public.
But even, I'm thinking with, yeah, I think that's it can be set up even with probably 20 chairs in the back for public. We usually have about 15 set up normally.
Mhm.
And then on the sides, you can have staff sitting.
Yeah.
It's,
I think it would suit our
and
needs.
and you feel like you can really talk to somebody in the space. It doesn't feel cavernous.
Got low ceiling, lower ceilings, I guess, than the champions room. So,
And they also have a beautiful studio.
Can be cozy around the table.
Anyway, yeah, I agree looking at the health district.
That's not a good idea. Yeah.
I would go scope up
It's
that.
almost like we have
Do you wanna?
two options.
do you
One's
wanna-
too small and one's too
So
big.
who wants to call Dr. Thompson to give her a heads up?
I can do that.
So, yeah, and just do that, because we'll need to do it as soon as possible.
We could try to get over there this afternoon or tomorrow.
Because I really hate to change the date from the 18th. I'd rather just keep that a hold. And I don't think we have to publish. It's a special meeting, so it's not open for public comment. So there'll be no public comment. It'll just be public viewing. So that's why it'll be live stream. And then are we able to just feed off City Cable 5 for our YouTube?
It sounds like we can. There was a little bit of concern about the technology working.
Yeah.
The city's had some issues where the feed has dropped. And so to be compliant, I think with OPMA, they weren't really crazy about not having any space for the public to sit and being solely dependent on the feed. I think from Tim Ott from City 5's perspective, having enough seating so public could be there would reduce, the risk of failure of the live stream.
And I also think restricting staff in that room would help too with the public seating. I mean, you could zoom in.
We'll have to figure out our presentation stuff. Everything that we do presentation wise is on Zoom. So we'll have to work through that stuff as well.
Well, it sounds
How we're
like,
gonna how we're gonna host.
it sounds like the city's gonna run their WebEx, and then Jacoby's gonna be me for that meeting.
Yeah, the city was willing to facilitate any PowerPoints or presentations that we bring. That's just so we have one kind of unified person to send things to through Gina and Jacoby.
When are we done with the logistics pieces? I just want to get back to the agenda if that was okay. So were we gonna talk about, sorry, you said scraps, but then you meant Shrek.
Shrek.
Were we gonna talk about scraps at all though, just to remind of just to remind that we had sent a letter and that isn't the agreement expiring with the city soon? I just,
End of the year.
it doesn't have to be a
thought that
long
was
discussion,
something
just
we-
kind of like a quick.
I thought we
check.
talked about that a couple weeks ago, that was something we wanted to at least discuss.
I don't know.
I don't remember, so that's on me. So yes, so we can,
I don't think it has to be a long discussion, just a reminder of when the contract expires. And
I guess-
like,
Scott, have you heard anything back from the city about the letter about scraps? Just letting them know like, hey, end of this year, contract's up.
I don't want it to become a crisis situation,
Why I sent it to them.
so. I know, but I don't think it has to be a long discussion. I don't think we need a big presentation. We just need, hey, just so everyone's aware, this contract expires at this time. And we'd really like to sit down and talk, so maybe an outcome could be,
there's probably like several things that are pending, but
There's a
are
long
the
list.
same.
There's a long list.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, the other thought I had too is just, I know that the city, county and the city of the valley have been working on updating the interlocal around the homeless dollars and the COC. So I know that that's coming at some point. I know George has said that they're working on that. So just like a check-in about, hey, just little check-ins, so everyone's aware these things are coming, so there's no. I don't know, that was just another thought I had, was that the updates to the agreements around the, I can't remember the name of the document, if it's around the COC or the 5-year plan, the 5-year plan bill. So, because I think that I heard from George that all the attorneys have been looking at some changes and updates, and then it'll come back to all of us to review, so it'd be good just to have it. Again, I don't know if there's like a time in the agenda where we can just do some quick check-ins and then decide, do we need to have a follow-up conversation, or does there need to be a subgroup meeting on this, or what have you? Just to keep the conversation going, but not necessarily at this meeting. Because we won't have enough time.
We're not
I'm
gonna have
sure.
enough time, so that's why we're trying to keep it. I think, you know, initially Betsy's hope was really to talk about the opioids, so that way as the council needs to do the joint investments, that the council's aware, because they haven't really been informed on any of that. So that's, you know, kind of showing the need. When I talked to the sheriff yesterday, I mean, our overdoses are continuing to are higher than the previous year. They're not going down. Which I think people are seeing nationally, that trend is all going down. It is not for us. So, you know, having those discussions as to why we need to make these investments together. So
that's the number one first topic.
Would we have Justin present too, or?
Um,
I love having Sheriff Knowles. I think that's.
yeah, I think it's, you're gonna have, her recommendation was someone from DEA, but I mean, I don't know, if we can get someone, so John, again, sits on the committee that monitors all that and has all the information, so John, and then, you're talking about getting Dr. Zane to then talk about what the opioid deaths have been, you know, like she did for us in January, you know, talking about January of last year to January of this year, she's got more data, but we can just present that and not have her present as well. So again, you know, just focusing on this is the need as to why we need to make these investments. These dollars in the community.
Do you think Justin would add to that conversation?
I think it's just gonna be trying to figure out the timing. Because we got 2 hours and we're gonna be pretty set on the 2 hours. We don't want to go over, so.
So what do you have? So we have opioid, some sort of, reminder on Shrek. Or I mean,
No.
I'm sorry, scrap, reminder on scraps,
And
Shrek to what extent? I mean, how long do you
I think
think
it's gonna
for
be at
Shrek?
least 15 minutes, and then if there's any questions from city council really hasn't gotten any information on Shrek
Okay.
that I know of. I think the council president.
Two of them penned an op-ed in today's paper I saw about it.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, there you go. I haven't seen the paper today.
It's an interesting paper, it sounds like.
Yeah, I guess it's a must read for everybody today. And make
Some
money-
days are better than others.
Make money for the paper today. But I think that potentially Shrek could have more questions, you know, to make sure that we're getting questions answered on that. So that's why, you know, with those, you know, trying to figure that out. So. And I guess I'm trying to have Chris, like, I just got this from Betsy and I just talked about it on Friday, late Friday, so I just got to talk to Chris yesterday, so. Talking to Mike Piccolo about sort of all the logistics side of it and.
Not to beat a dead horse, I might suggest that we have Justin available in case there are questions about what the proposals are for funding. You can
Have
have
him
the
on.
details on that. Be on
Have him on
Zoom.
Zoom.
Yeah.
We can have him in the room.
Yeah.
Either way.
So, yeah. We'll put him on notice. I have Cody on notice. I have John on notice.
So just thinking of the time and not wanting to go over. One thought could be like the last 10 minutes could be. Like just quick updates from if anyone wanted to bring up a regional, like, oh, this may be like if. Then I could bring up the ILA on the 5-year plan or so, just like little updates rather than
Good
like
idea.
a formal agenda item might
Yeah, around the room.
be helpful, so then. Cause this, there could be city updates on some other things too, that, I don't know, just one thought, but you'd have to manage and literally, 1 minute update, no more. At the mic. Anyway, that's just a thought, like for the, just updates and other topics for future discussion or something.
And this is just first time I know that we're doing this between the city and county commissioners. And this is, I don't want anyone thinking we're leaving any other cities out. Other cities have the opportunity if they would like to ask us to do this same thing. I just want to make sure that we're not being left out, but it's just the request that came in from the city of Spokane. So, and as we try to set this better, again, we're all off next week, but I'll try to, then we come back and it's gonna be that Friday. I'll find out the timing of when we have to get the notice out for the agenda. And I don't think it's only a couple days before, so hopefully we'll have time on next Tuesday and the following Tuesday. We'll be ready to file. Make sure where we're at. So, because I think a special meeting usually, where Mr. Amacio, we're not to do things. I think it's just 24 hours. Special meeting.
Yeah, check out special.
Unless the city has different rules, so.
It's true. Well, I guess they have to comply with their rules, right?
Yeah, so that's why I met with Matt yesterday to say I need him to pick a load to really coordinate. This isn't on, this is them on making sure we meet all the legal requirements. Okay, so that's where we're at so far.
It is a 24-hour notice is what I'm seeing here. So looks like it, so. Is everyone gonna be available to sign off on a 24-hour notice?
Betsy and I think have to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because we're all back that following week.
Okay.
So yes, because we're off next week. And then this is the Friday of the following week.
Yeah.
So.
I just had a miscellaneous just to let the board know, the DSP apparently changed their bylaws recently to, like they do with the city of Spokane, have the commissioner whose district covers downtown to be on their board. So they took that action, I think in February or January, and so I'm now on the board. It's one that group picks the board members, I think not commissioners per se. I think Commissioner French has been on it for a long time, like in an at-large seat, and I haven't talked to him recently. I don't know that he's still on it. I don't know if anyone else knows that information. But
Pretty sure he's on it, because I think I had spoken with somebody. We spoke with Ray Lim at a DSP event and asked, and she had talked about Al being on their board. So
As a citizen.
I'm
In
almost
his professional capacity.
something like that. Yeah, it's not
DSP.
as a commissioner. It's something he's been on for like decades or something. So,
But that'll be up to the DSP.
Yeah.
board
yeah.
to-
I just wanted to share because it's.
So
I
no,
guess,
so we
as
should,
a commissioner.
yes, so we should, since you're doing it as a commissioner, should make sure it gets added to the official list.
Okay. Yeah, I can send an email or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I did attend my first meeting the other day, and there was a little envelope on my desk that said Spokane County, and I opened it up, and it was our outside agency bill, basically. So I was like, welcome to the board,
Nice.
please pay your bill.
Pay
So I passed that on.
That must be.
Nice.
I passed that to
Apparently
Jeff.
membership comes with the dues.
Oh.
We do have a closed session that we need to do, so I want to make sure we get to that. So Scott.
I was just gonna mention, for DSP, the commissioners have, for the last many years, approved a contribution to DSP. It's not related to a board seat. It was, in lieu of, because we don't pay bid fees, but we're inside the bid. some years ago, I guess the commissioners made the decision to contribute something. So I think the amount is similar.
And it's budgeted for, I checked, it was.
Yeah, yes.
So, but that was my welcome to that was very nice, first meeting.
Well, we will see as a part of next year's budget if we can afford to keep you on the board or not.
Sounds like regardless, there's still a spot for that downtown representing commissioner, so there you go.
Okay. Okay, any other miscellaneous items today? That's for live.
The commissioner does look at 24 hours.
Okay.
And I believe for special meetings, I mean, can you take items that aren't listed on a special meeting agenda?
I don't think so.
I don't think you can either. I think we have to have listed out, but I think to Commissioner Walders, but if we put like a member check-in, does that protect us to kind of go around and say like, oh, well, I just wanted to give everyone the heads up on X, Y, and Z, and then
I thought you said that you can't take action on items not listed.
No, no.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Miscellaneous.
I don't know. Somebody needs to look into that to make sure we're all square on that.
Oh,
A normal meeting, you're totally fine. Special meeting, I
usually,
would love it if you could look into that, Laura. So, yeah.
because I think we've gotten, I think Jim, at least in the past, it's been like, you have to identify what you're gonna be talking about.
Yeah.
On a special meeting.
But at our Council of Governments meeting, we always do a go around the room,
But that's,
right? And
it's not
that's a
really-
publicly
that's-
noticed meeting.
right, but that's different than a special meeting for the Board of County Commissioners.
There's no action taken on anything. There's no, I mean,
It's a different format.
yeah.
This is where we're both doing a special meeting as our boards. So that's my understanding legally. It's not a council of governments, which is a different sanctioned type of event.
I assume that was a special meeting as well.
It's not because we're not there, we're just getting information and we're not there as in our official capacity as board, as. Yeah.
But to that.
It's in this RCWs as the council of governments are different.
Yeah. To that point, I've had other folks from different city councils around ask if we could go back to 2 a year of council of governments. We used to do 2.
Yeah.
And so if that's I've had folks because it used to, so there's always the September. And then I guess I think we used to do one back in
Yeah.
May-ish. And I think used to be May and September, I think, around there.
Prior to my time.
Yeah, no, correct.
Yeah, and we did the special one during COVID. In that January.
Out at the out in the
Center
valley,
Place.
the center place, yeah, so, but
I mean, we can do them whenever, I mean.
Okay.
If there's any, I think it's. Who wants to be in charge of that and
okay.
put the agenda together and do all that? So, I mean, it's like happy to as the, the chair, I mean, do we wanna have that as part of the chair's duty and. Sign other people, but yeah, let's just talk about it, I'm. Happy to.
Okay.
Just see what the topics is, cause it's really, topic. I mean, I try to get input from people on topics for the September one, and a lot of times it works out, but yeah, if there's topics, I mean, we can have it anytime.
Yeah. I think it would be valuable to throw in a second one sometime in the spring or something. I mean, maybe not this year since we're in the spring already, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think there'd be value to
And
have,
if-
to try
and if
to get
someone's-
to 2 a year.
Yeah, if somebody's talking about wanting to do it, then you ask them for topics.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay.
topics they put on it and.
Sounds good.
That's where too, like at the council of governments, we don't do it is recorded. And then we don't do public comment. For it. It's not a normal meeting, so. I think there's a separate RCW speaking to council of governments versus what we're trying to do between the city and the county, special meeting. So. Okay, anything else? Okay,
One executive session, Commissioner,
okay,
under RCW 4230-111, through III, pending or potential litigation, estimated 15 minutes. At the request, CEO Scott Simmons, Commissioners. Mr. Cloud. Josh Grote, Summer Rife. I think that's it.
That executive session or a closed session?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't need an exam, we're just having a closed session.
Sorry, closed session. I
Yeah,
see.
closed session for labor
And
negotiations.
Dan, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
So we don't need it.
Oh, okay.
So we're just gonna have a closed session. That's my understanding for
Oh,
neighbor. And
So-
how long? Oh, we don't even need to accept.
I messed it up.
Okay.
So we're adjourning and then we're going into a closed session, right? And then we won't be going back out, okay.
And no decision for any of that.
Anyone on Zoom?
So no, yep, no. So we are gonna go into closed session. We're adjourning the meeting for the morning. We'll see everybody back at 2 o'clock or 2 o'clock meeting and we'll go into a closed session for later. Cool.